opposite, but never mind. So I am back with a few things that I've discovered about life, and I wanted to share them with you. I wanted to share that I was about to go for a walk, and I ended up avoiding it because it's past 11 p.m. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a fear, which I don't fully understand, because I live in a safe country. So it was an inherent fear, which involved just being alone as a woman. And I really wanted to bring this up, which involves these subtle experiences of women that only keep getting gaslit or keep getting shoved under some form of, they're just experiences that become normalized in a way that speaking about them is just, it's just sounds like complaining. So I am here to remind you that there are inherent fears that exist within us, and it takes a lot of courage and learning and unlearning to release that out of your body and out of your system. And you bargain a lot with people when you are trying to validate these experiences. So I advise, maybe if you're a woman listening to me right now, I advise that you don't explain yourself to anybody. I advise that you spend time avoiding anybody that's going to have you explain yourself more than once. I've witnessed myself explain so much, and that was very unfair, I would say. I think the word would be unfair, to just soften to people that aren't willing to listen. So accommodating people, especially men, is something that I don't really advise. I don't advise anybody to accommodate anyone, and to be attuned to when somebody is trying to use you emotionally. As a woman, it is a pretty internalized experience that we perform. So we need to be more aware. It's very subtle. It's even socially rewarded to be emotionally available for male opponents, and they could be virtually anybody, especially people who are coming to speak to you about their exes or their wives or other women in their life, to get validation from you, and that is just utterly disgusting, I believe. And I always advise women to either hold the men accountable of just what they're like. Obviously, it's quite difficult to pinpoint or even recognize that until you've actually reached a space where you realize you're just a container for that man's emotions. And unfortunately, it's another experience of being unpaid labor, because I mean, emotional labor is labor. So this whole thing with men not choosing close friends or other men in their life to witness them emotionally, and instead they part, they seek distant women to validate their experience, like, is honestly alienating to me. It's very interesting because it's all about the whole male loneliness epidemic, and it just we're feeding as women, if we continue to sit in this space of accepting to emotional labor for stranger men that we have no relationship with or very limited emotional access to, is actually really, really, really sad. So I advise that we don't play the role anymore. We resist through changing behavior, and we change the script. We change what it means to accommodate, and even if that means radically shifting our ways of expressing ourselves. So I really advise that the women that are younger, because we are being used as effective labor. It's like a labor trap. It's something that you get trapped into, and you become somebody that just receives. Sometimes you even notice your dad is doing this with you. Like, they would treat your mother really badly, and then they would come to you complaining about how she just gives them a headache, or how she's just she's been not performing well. So he just to normalize or validate, maybe even like subtly use your emotional intelligence. So I would advise to avoid that level of that type of conditioning, which makes you become an emotional sponge, and eventually drains you dry, because you're sitting there trying to validate men because you want to be validated. So I advise you to just stop. Loyalty to male culture is a disease. I am not I'm not saying that we can't have conversations with stranger men as women. That is not what I'm implying. I was implying that we need to be able to recognize when there's an unconscious conversation that is being used, that you become a container and somebody that is being used, instead of somebody that is actually effectively having a reciprocal conversation with another person. Because a lot of people come to you for validation, and it's usually on you to decide whether or not you want to participate, and whether or not you want to perform emotional labor for a stranger male, especially when it's being when it's something related to this emotional space of being with another woman. And then you kind of come and you start listening and digesting. So anyway, this is something that I felt like sharing with you today as a woman. If you're a woman who's listening, if you're a man who's listening, welcome. I hope I didn't trigger you. I would just like to let you know that whether you're interested or agree with this, I don't care. I don't care if you don't agree. I actually just post-feminist conditioning is something that we need to speak about. It's this conditioning which is very subtle. Things that are coming to you that are very subtly you can't really pinpoint, even though you know the literature, even though you have understanding on a level that is mental, but you don't have it on a practical level. So, if you agree with me and you're a male, welcome, and I hope you like my channel. So, I would like to let you know that you might be suffering as a woman from relational trauma if you're going out there and performing empathy for men that you don't know. Because I don't think we inherently need to have too much empathy for men. It's not beneficial for anybody. It's only exhausting. Especially when you're not being met with the same level of empathy or reciprocal understanding of emotion. So, emotionally unavailable men will be unfortunately, unable to mirror or reflect on you or participate in that relationship that you've created, where you, or that performance or the ability to actually have conversations that are meaningful, which don't revolve around or center around that man, which are reciprocal and which are mutually beneficial for both people. So resisting is important, is what I am coming to you with. I urge everybody to resist intersectionally with many things, and not to just sit in neutrality, like in that neutral space that everyone has we're just in a gray area type of situation. I completely understand where that narrative is coming from, and that inherently as women we need to support men to be able to express their emotions a little bit more. However, I don't think that this is the way we should do it. I think we should be able to hold people accountable of their actions, and if you are actually going to be emotionally available for somebody, you're gonna need to witness the truth in their actions. So if he's complaining about his women, or if he's just talking about his misery, or maybe his sex life, that he's not getting enough sex, like he's some incel, then you are gonna need to maybe if you're somebody who's witnessing him fully, then the fullness of your witnessing needs to be that you actually say the truth to him, and you don't just stroke the areas in him that are craving intense validation. So if you want to take at it from that space, then be awakened and careful to actually witness this person in full, instead of perform compassion when it is just like pseudo compassion. It's a very temporary state of some form of like nurturing that is completely unnecessary. Men are going out there trying to seek nurturing from stranger women, which is what hookup culture is all about. So I mean, and whatever reason you're doing this, whether it's you have some form of agenda in your head where you feel like this person is valuable and you want to get value out spared that pain, because there are maybe going to be some men that will respond positively to that holding of accountability, that will learn, and not that you are a teacher, but that at least will improve our society, and that will improve us as a humankind. Yes, there's a lot of fighting that needs to be done because we are still in a state of conditioning, and I also advise for men who are listening to get up and do their due diligence and use their privilege to speak up, or maybe even if you have money to heal out of these conditioning, because you as a man are also struggling. The loneliness epidemic of men nowadays is actually very much coming from the state of unfortunately being no longer being a provider, and not being able to provide for women because women are providing for themselves, and that whole experience is creates identity loss for men that are heteronormative, and that have grown with the understanding that being providers control and in control and in power gives them a lot of like I would say stability and identity, and makes them who they are basically. So when they realize that they are inherently incapable of living up to that role that they've been given by society, they're devastated, and there's an emptiness in them, and there's a space of confusion and a lot of like questioning about their identity, and that in itself is very crucial, because you could go down a hell of sadness and pain, which involves you either growing out of it and moving out of it into a higher state of self-acceptance and love as a male, and your masculinity completely gets so broken open that it no longer looks like what you've known it to be when you were conditioned to be a certain way, or you just escape and you live your entire life in hopes that you would eventually find something that is going to numb things down. So it's a choice, and I urge you to fast for a period of 5 days. Fasting helps set and reset things in your mind, including the body. 5-day fast is going to clean up a lot of the conditioning, in my opinion, especially if it was a conscious fast, and not just done to clean up the body physically, but also emotionally and mentally. The intention can be there, and the possibilities are endless. So a 5-day fast, 4 to 5-day fast is very important to release a little bit of the conditioning, to actually be able to witness it if you sit with yourself long enough. Aside from the fast, I also advise that you stick to celibacy for a while, as a man or as a woman. Celibacy is going to give you perspective on where you stand when your sexuality is being preserved. A lot of the work becomes physical and mental, so the body and the mind start finally finding each other. And the fact that you're able to finally integrate without having an outsider do the work for you, to numb you, or to fill you up with lust or anything like that, in that experience of celibacy, especially if it's a long-term experience, you will find a lot of just simply a lot of acceptance in yourself, and just a lot of joy and love, and maybe even hatred, and you will start listening to what is being said, because sex is no longer numbing you out. So yeah, shifting, changing is possible, and growing out of your old ways of thinking and your habits and your the things that make you hate yourself and make you feel like you are incapable of understanding the world so clearly, or that you don't really, it's been years and you just have no idea why things are going the way they are, and you're being blocked.